Second. Okay, we are live on YouTube and just a second.
Should I start admitting people?
Yeah, I think you can. It's 7 p.m. Let's start letting people in. Okay, I see a bunch of people joining in. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining in our webinar on a Wednesday evening. Wednesday evening, that's a little closer to Friday than it is to Monday, so that's exciting. Glad to have you guys here. While we are waiting for more people to join in, we'll probably give 5 minutes more. How about we do a quick intro? You guys can rename yourself on Zoom so that we know. And at the time,
Neeraj, your voice, I'm not able to hear you. Yeah, Neeraj, can you try saying something again? Okay, maybe you can switch to wired earphone. In the meantime,
is this
yeah.
any better?
Yeah.
So I was saying while we are
You're gone. It's gone again. Okay, I think what he's saying is while we are waiting for, and while now we are waiting for Neeraj to get back, I think what you guys can all do is, this whole event is about getting you to the right, in the right career and right role. So I think what he's requesting you all to do is append, to your name, the kind of role that you are gearing for. That is wherever you want to be. So let's say if you want to be a senior data scientist and your name is Raj, then you just rename yourself as Raj hyphen senior data scientist, something like that. So that will be fun to see where you want to go. And Neeraj, we hope that you will be back soon. So yeah, please go ahead, everyone, and rename.
hello.
Yeah.
Is this any better?
Yeah, but I don't think it's a long-term solution.
I mean, I think it should be working fine now. While we are waiting people. Yeah. Also, whoever started the whiteboard, I request you to please turn it off. Yeah. Thank you.
Again,
yeah. Awesome.
I think people have started renaming themselves.
Yes.
Thanks.
Everything's working fine.
No, it's gone again.
Like, I think most of the people here are tech, so they understand things go bad on production, no matter how much you test.
Everything was working fine until like 5 minutes ago. I don't know what just happened.
Yeah. We all know this. We have seen this movie before.
Plus one to catch it.
This is the default behavior now. I mean.
Okay, Neeraj, can you try saying? Otherwise, I'll take over if you're.
Is this better? I'm not sure if this will work fine. I think just to be safe, it's better if you take over, Nikunj. Now, I mean, there might be a problem with the.
You can give it one more go. If not, then I'll start. I'll take over.
Cool. Things seem to be working fine now. I will start again. Thank you all for joining in on a Wednesday evening. We are really excited to have you here. We have an amazing panel with us. People coming from different experiences, all here to tell you about the secrets of how you can find your next tech job. However, we would like to meet.
Neeraj, it's gone again.
Hello.
Yeah, Neeraj is gone and somebody else who is not supposed to speaking. So So anyway, I please I'll request everyone to please mute themselves. You can raise your hand if you have a question. In fact, your questions can go in the chat section. Everyone here will try to answer your questions in the chat section as well. And please mute yourself. So I'll just introduce the whole topic and the objective that we have in front of us today, and how we want to do it. So as you all know, this is a webinar for everyone to understand tech careers better. We are deliberately focusing on tech careers and not a job. So actually, let me show you uh, the agenda that I had in mind. You can see my screen. Yeah. Okay, great. So this is topic for today. And you can see the second uh, headline, which is not just any job, get the acceleration your career deserves. As a techie, when you see so many companies are hiring today, it's easy to find any job. But what we really believe at CutShort is for you to get ahead and get into the right place in your career, you don't need just one job. You need to have a long-term mindset to understand where you want to go, and then have a plan, have certain principles, certain fundamentals to move along that plan to get to the place where you really should be, which is where your potential actually gets justified. And this is the webinar, and that's why while the headline says dream tech job, don't look at it from the transactional perspective. This is the first job that you want to get, a second job or immediate job. We are here, and the people that we have got in this panel are also all people who have had very interesting career journeys. And that's why, given a diversity of knowledge and experiences, the greatest thing that we can do here is to really unlock and understand how people can build different kind of tech careers, and how can you build your tech career as well, right? So keep it more large, keep it more at a higher level. Don't think too transactionally. That is the context of what we are trying to do here. Objective, as I said, is the biggest pain point that we have is, if you don't know things, if you don't know where you want to go, or you know where you want to go, but you don't know the path and you make mistakes, then there are so many people out there, you uh, miss out on the right opportunities, and your path to where you want to go becomes longer, and worse, it might not happen, right? So there are a lot of things that a lot of you might not know about, because you have been seeing things only from your perspective. And in this webinar, what we're trying to do here is, we're trying to give you a perspective, open your mind towards the other side, the how do other people have built their careers, number one. And second, how do recruiters, how do interviewers and hiring managers actually take their decisions, so that you can understand their context. And if you don't understand that context, then you will make mistakes that will cost you. That's the first objective. And of course, at as cut short, since we are a platform and where so many companies hire so many people every day, we also want to ensure that companies also gain, because if you guys are better prepared, then companies will be also getting better results, because they will be interacting with just the right kind of people who are selecting them because they have a long-term fitment with them. And that will be a win-win situation for both of the parties. And that's why we are doing this uh, webinar, right? So I'll go to the next section, and the whole context of how to, what all topics we want to discuss today is, first is career planning, that how do you decide which path to take, where you want to go. And we have a lot of interesting viewpoints there today. All of our panelists and speakers are, have had very different journey, as I said. So that will be very interesting to talk about. Second is, once you have a good idea about where you want to go, then how do you identify the good opportunities and good companies that will take you there? So how do we do that? And second is, once you know that these are companies where you want to go, the kind of companies, the third thing is, how do you apply and actually do the whole process? How do you apply for higher success? Fourth is, once you have applied and you're past the first stage of shortlisting, then how do you crack interviews? And again, we have hiring managers, we have people who have done many interviews, and then we also have Sachin, who actually runs a company on this, which does tech interviews for so many companies in India and also outside. So he has a very different perspective and very wide perspective on this. So let's make use of his time as well. And fourth is close. You have cracked interviews, you've done everything else. Now, how do you not make a mistake in terms of doing something which takes away the offer, or it jeopardizes the offer in some other way, or you get a better lower salary or a lower or different title or different role that you could actually ask for. So how do you not make those mistakes? This is where these are the main topics of discussion that we have today. And we'll go through these sections very briefly with the speakers, and then we will open for Q&A, where you can ask questions around this and anything else that comes up in the webinar. Is it all clear? So then we can start. Can you guys give a thumbs up or something so that we can start? I just want to take a bit of pause here. Do we have any polls or something? You want me to launch a poll, or somebody should launch a poll? I'm not a co-host. Okay, so please launch a poll, guys, if you are here. Let me just check on that. Okay, I can see the poll, so let me start. And while the poll is on, I'll just start the first poll. So please answer this poll. It will get us to understand, your context, your goals a bit better, so we can focus on the important topics more, and leave out the less important ones. So please answer the questions on your screen. In the meantime, let's move to the special guests that we have today, and I will actually request them to introduce themselves. And the format in which I will request them is tell a bit about your current role, and more interestingly, how did you arrive at this role? What was your career journey like, and what decisions and what fundamentals you had in mind to reach the place where you are today, and try to do it in 2 minutes each, so just to keep everything under the time limit. So I would request, let's say Sachin to begin first.
That was not in the agreement. Cool. So, hey guys, this is Sachin. I'm the founder and CEO of Interview Vector, where we help companies in their tech hiring. Almost all the big startups you would see in India, they are mostly using our platform to evaluate candidates. And you might not like me, or a lot of you might know me already. So yeah, that's about me. What I'm currently doing. About my background. So I have been a software developer myself. Used to work in companies like Tower Research Capital and Eightfold AI. And how did I arrive at my current job, right? So beneath all, we all are software developers, and basically for me, a software developer is someone who solves problems. And that was what I was doing when I was in my doing my stint in Tower Research Capital and Eightfold. And that's where I saw this problem that, tech hiring is broken, and a lot of companies are spending a lot of time in conducting interviews. Candidates are not getting a good experience, and they're missing a lot of opportunities because candidates are not able to screen the candidates in the right manner. And that's the problem that I saw. And yes, I did switch from software to sales now, but the core idea is same, that, you need to solve a problem. The software engineer is for me. Yeah, I think that's what my introduction, guys. Thanks.
Got it. Welcome, Sachin. We are glad to have you here. And I think you'll be you'll be one person to please everyone. if you're holding the keys to companies, right?
Just to let everyone know, the process is very transparent, and I can't alter the results.
Okay,
all right. So Bharat, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi everyone. So this is Bharat. Currently I'm co-founder and CPTO with a company called Multiply. So I take care of both product and engineering here. Though largely I'm a engineer, coder. So what we do as a company is we are a B2B travel tech company which likes the power of major OTAs of the world. My journey, again, I started like coding very early in life. Somewhat lucky in life to have a PC at home in 90s, like early 90s. I think before playing video games, I ended up playing, computer games. So journey again has been very non-linear for me. I have a couple of, or have few inspirations in family clan itself, who have been entrepreneurs, good entrepreneurs. So I started my career with the likes of Google and Adobe. Was very lucky to get good projects, early stages of streaming, which Netflix and the Hotstar you ended up using like years down the line. But then I always wanted to do things at my own pace, wanted to solve complicated problems. So I think journey has been first part being a software engineer, starting with larger companies to then moving to smaller startups where I've actually enjoyed more, interacted with much better, I think, people in terms of skill. And then post that it's been startups of all sizes. I think 3 people team to the likes of Flipkart, and last 6-7 years I've been leading teams, fintech, e-commerce, insurance, and now travel. So that's a bit about me.
Great. Welcome, Bharat. Who wants to go next? Omkar?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. This is Omkar. I'm currently part of GoQuick. It's an e-commerce enablement company. I lead talent and culture here. So that's about my current role. Prior to this, I've been into HR consulting and edtech largely on the talent side and the leadership hiring side of the things. How did I get here? I think I've always capitalized or kept learning as a paramount as to how can I learn something in my current role, which I am not being doing, and how can I get that learning and get to that role. So that is what I've always kept and also will keep going ahead.
Great. Great to hear that, Omkar. Welcome to the session
Thanks.
today. Okay, Manan, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is having a good day today. It's midweek. My name is Manan Verma. I'm currently taking care of the engineering at Physics Wala, the 101st unicorn of India. Previously, I've worked in organizations like MakeWhatRepco, IBIBO, Upgrad, Zycus, and Urban Company. And I started as a tech intern, passing out from my college. And the things which brought me to here, if I see my journey as a retrospect, would be things like curiosity, good mentorship, access to good resources, and moreover, like staying curious, hustling, and doing things the right way.
Yeah, I think you have had a very interesting journey. We'll talk about, try to talk about it in a bit more detail. Okay, Chet, you want to go next? And
Sure.
welcome, Manan.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Kechit. I'm heading the engineering and product teams at Azent. So we are an edtech startup in the field of overseas education. So for people who don't get a job via interview vector, you can always sign up with us and go abroad. Yeah, jokes apart. So my journey has been very traditional. In the first 3 years, I was just exploring like what I like, exploring different technologies. I worked at fintech organizations like Morgan Stanley at a startup, which was later acquired by Religare. In the fintech domain, I worked on different technology stacks, Java, C#, JavaScript. So that was the time I was figuring out what I like, what I don't like. I realized that I love working in startups and smaller companies, taking up more responsibilities. I loved working in backend. I wanted to explore other kinds of languages. I moved to a company working in recruitment tech domain, learning Python, building systems, the entire systems end to end in the backend. And then I joined Upgrad in the very initial stages. And grew Upgrad like from less than 10 employees to when I left, there were more than 1,000 employees at Upgrad. Over my entire journey, I've played different roles, like pure techie, front end, back end. Then I've started on product, working closely with the product managers, users on building the experience that we want to provide to our users, and then also working closely with the business teams. on what our business model should be, what are the new businesses that we can launch. So it's been an interesting journey for me as well.
Okay, great. Welcome, Kechit. Interesting journey. And I think we did a poll and we asked the audience what are they interested the most in. Although career planning is something which I think a lot of people have figured out, so it has received a few lesser votes than what I would expected. But since you guys have, clearly made a transition and started out, and in a very short span of time, all of you have actually scaled to a good enough position and a lot of challenges that we have gone through. So the most important, question is, what do you think are the and the people in the room? You can see a lot of people trying to become something. They have renamed themselves. So what do you think are the most common mistakes that people make because of which they're not able to reach the potential that they have in their career? Anybody can go. Bharat, if you want to go next and answer this one.
I think majority of the people where I've seen who have not done fairly well or who've not been fair to their careers. One thing I've seen very prominently is that they don't have a sense of delayed gratification. If I compare career building similar to, let's say, investing in stock market, so you can time it probably once or twice in your career, but then right, if you look at it from a long career point of view, it doesn't really matter. So I'm somebody who did switch early in my career. Had I reached where I've reached without those switches, I think would have done pretty much same. I would have definitely been a better engineer for sure. Would have gone much more in depth. So I think delayed gratification is something very important. Second is curiosity. Or I mean, what we measure is the intent and capability. Of people. Do they have the intent to solve a problem? Do they have the capability to solve a problem? If they don't, do they have intent to learn? Do they have capability to learn? Right. I think keeping these things, keeping it very simple, can kind of propel you in the direction you want.
So delayed gratification, sort of a long-term view of where you want to be, is one thing that you are.
Yeah, so long-term doesn't need to be, I think, 10-year roadmap. It's difficult to plan a 10-year roadmap, but I think probably, rather than thinking 6 months, 1 year, 2 year down the line, do plan for, 3 to 5 year horizon.
So delayed gratification, when you talk about it, what are the things that you might have want to sacrifice, or you might have to sacrifice in short term to get to the long term?
It could be, it could be, I think, it is about resources, what resources you have. It could be money, it could be time, it could be effort, right? So when I look at, there could be a role which probably is paying me less money, right, and is asking for wealth creation in a short to medium to long term. That could be one. It could also be about time, right, that I have to, rather than, again, it depends on individual choice, but rather than spending, let's say, 7 to 8 hours of work, rather than 8 hours, maybe why not 10 hours, 12 hours? See, honestly, we've all done that in our early stage of our career. I remember the batch which we were like very new to our careers in Adobe, and the whole batch, I'm talking about 30 people, we used to come to office on Saturdays, and it was not mandated. We just enjoyed, working and solving problem, also spending time with, I think, each other. So there has been, I think, a lot of hue and cry about this. You can find a work-life balance, right? If you end up working for a couple of hours extra. I mean, again, choice. What is that you are sacrificing? It could be time, effort, money. It could be something which the sector is not lucrative. It could also be that the problem is like highly unsolved. Think of somebody joining EdTech probably 10 years ago. or fintech, let's say, 10 years back when it was not a buzzword.
That is interesting. I think since you mentioned the point of trade-offs, and I think one thing that we have seen from CutShort's perspective in last 2 years after COVID, what has happened is there is a lot of focus and importance that people are putting in remote work. That they say, okay, I'm in my hometown and I want to work from there. I want to live with my parents and I don't want to move anywhere. And they're insisting on this. Now, this is also an interesting development. We don't know how it will pan out, how it will sacrifice their learning, their assimilation in the whole business environment. And I think there are people who can think differently. And I think in this panel, you know, anybody has any suggestions on that front? I personally have a suggestion that, as Bharat rightly said, in the initial part of your career, the focus should be maximum on learning and exposure rather than maximum and rather than on convenience and comfort. And if you're really enjoying what you're doing, then you will not actually feel the pain, because a lot of people have never worked outside and they think that it's very comfortable to work from home. Then why to even go to office and meet anybody else? But once they actually do it, then they realize, oh, this was such a stark difference between what I was imagining a workplace to be and what it is actually all about. So I think that's one suggestion from my side. Do this trade-off. Look at this. Look, understand and try to think about what Bharat was mentioning about trade-offs. It could be any of the trade-offs about salary, about your time. You're putting extra time, or you're making an extra effort, or you're losing a comfort factor by stepping out of your home and working with a company with a smart bunch of people. Maybe not for long term, but at least in short term work. And don't close yourself to that possibility of working with more people in a very closed, knit environment. Anybody else wants to add any point to it quickly? Then please go ahead. If not, then we can move on.
So to
Yeah,
add
absolutely.
to,
I mean, yeah, go ahead, Ketchit.
yeah, so yeah, sure, thanks. So just to add to what Nikhil said, like on work from home. So it depends on the person also. Like in case the person has a career path in mind, which is to grow as an individual contributor, maybe software engineer, and go as a technical route, a technical architect route, and being an individual contributor, then you can still look at working from home and growing in that path. But if you're looking at a role and a position, or maybe you're in a company where you're working in a large team, you need to interact with your managers, you have a team that you're managing, you're interacting with the business teams. Obviously, to start with, remote working can work, but in the long term, definitely the kind of learnings or insights that you get while having a coffee and sharing a cup of coffee with your colleagues, you will not get it anytime over Zoom.
Okay, great. So thanks, Kechit, for adding to that point. Now, let's say people have understood or they have made some choices about their career, that where they want to be in 5 years, 6 years, and they know it's learning or whatever they want to do. Now, what kind of companies? How do they identify the companies that will take them there? What should they look for in a company in this stage, in the initial stage, or let's say first 5 years of their experience? How can they identify good companies, and what can be the real or some obvious red flags that they should avoid if a company is like that? So good green flags and red flags about companies that can help them achieve the career goals. Manan, you want to go?
So yeah, in terms of finding companies, initial stage of my career, I struggled a lot on the same, because there was like a large number of choices, and even I had different choices of like moving different roles from one role to another as well. In that perspective, but having good mentorship and knowing having a network, for me, LinkedIn helped me a lot in that perspective to get a clarity upon like what kind of people work over there, who all I will be working with if I take up this role. And even the new age job search platforms similar to say CutShort, Angel, or AngelList, they also help you a lot in terms of like having a direct connect. I still remember on CutShort I was able to directly talk to the engineering manager who was hiring for the position. Whereas in the traditional job search platforms, it is more like you put up a resume, the recruiters search you on the basis of keywords, and there's no interactivity in between. So having a immersive experience in terms of having a discussion with the recruiter or the person, the hiring manager, is much more easier. So the new age recruiting platform are one thing, LinkedIn is one thing, and you can search in your college networks, in your employees and ex-employees network as well. So but it does require a good amount of research about what kind of companies one should move into, and what his or her life priorities are, in terms of what kind of trade-off that person is willing to take, whether it is like the person wants to maximize on the salary, maximize on the work-life balance, maximize on the learning opportunities, and accordingly take up a
Great.
decision.
Great. And what could be red flags?
Red flags could be people leaving in a very short notice, where like the average tenure on the team you're planning to join is like, say, less than a year. People are leaving in a few months. That could be one. Companies hiring without a proper decision, that like they're just hiring, but like you're not able to connect with the product but they're trying to build. So like you won't be inclined to the whole vision altogether. You need, although like domain is one thing, but the company's vision would be one thing as well. If you're like interviewing for a senior role, the vision, you should be inclined to it. That is when you will be able to give your 100% to the organization. And also the leader you will be like working closely with, because you will be absorbing a lot of things from him or her. And I personally, I call myself a byproduct of all the leaders I've worked with, because like I just came to an industry with nothing on my mind, learned something from my college professors, and post that I've been just learning from the people who were my oversight and some internet resources. So the person you will be working with closely is something very important. So these would be the three things.
Okay. Anybody else wants to highlight any red
I
flags?
think one red flag, which is, if the hiring manager or anybody, who is a part of the panel gets offended by probably the questions you ask, again, assuming that the questions you're asking is to know more about the company, the culture, and, the role is. I've seen this happen. I think that's a big red flag.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think another, red flag you have to talk about, Nikunj, is right, as to what Bharat said and Manan said. I think it is very important to understand the journey of the company, right, as to what they're really building. Because if people don't see a credit or a merit in what company is building, they'll tend to leave those organizations if they're not getting that particular focus or the expertise, right? Then people will tend to leave those organizations. And so they should technically, before or at the stage of interview itself, see what they're trying to, what the company is trying to build, and what the journey of the leaders has been. So that is one thing. And additionally, green flags what to see is, of course, they should study the leader's journey, what journey the leader or the engineering leader or whoever that person is going to work with, what kind of depth or how long has he worked in his career, because that is where the real learning comes from. As to what to add, what Manan said, that is a byproduct of the leaders that he has worked with, because we learn a lot from the people we work along. So they need to have depth for us to learn something.
Got it. Okay. So that was great. Now a lot of questions are coming in the chat section. Is there any poll? Then please launch a poll. And I think a lot of questions are coming around the application process. And I mentioned in the start as well that candidates don't know the other side of the story. They don't know how recruiters actually live their day. What are the things that they're going on in their mind, and when they're applying for jobs and they're reaching out, why are they not hearing back? Why they're not getting shortlisted? So Omkar is here for that reason specifically, and we would like some more insights from Omkar about if let's say somebody is applying for a role, and if you can actually also go through how many roles typically a recruiter is hiring for at a time, how many applications you're dealing with, and what is the reality? How is a work day look like on a typical day?
Got it. So I think, Nikunj, if you ask me, how many roles is a recruiter working on any given point of time? On an average, about 8 to 9 unique roles is what I'm referring to, right?
Wow.
That can depend on the intensity of the organization that is hiring. So if they have like 40, 50 roles to close, then the intensity can be 8 to 9. If the roles are lesser, then that number will gradually come down. But it ranges anywhere between 5 to 8. All right. How do application process works and what kind of applications you get? So I think the kind of applications, if you put a job posting anywhere, be it CutShort, Insta or LinkedIn, anywhere, you get a bunch of applications, right? How much of those are relevant? You'll be surprised to hear about 15-20% of the applications are relevant. 80% are not relevant. And why does this happen? All right. Because I think what happens is if candidates miss to read the complete JD in detail, because JD has multiple facets to it. It's not only about the designation, but it's also about what skills are we looking at, what is the experience range that we're looking at, right? So let's say if the prescribed experience range is 4 to 8 years, so +1 - 1, but we get a lot of applications with 1 2 years or maybe 10 12 years, right? Which are not relevant. So people lying in those experience range outrightly kind of get filtered out because we'll not even look at those applications because they don't fall in the experience range that we're looking at. So that is the first filter that is applied, or which are the basic or must-haves, right? Which is around, let's say, experience range, or some companies also have a filtering on the education criteria. Not all companies have it, but some do have it. So these are some of the basic filters which recruiters apply, and then come to a desired number. Post that, then it is about the skills. What are the must-have skills, like non-negotiable ones, right? So that is the next filter that is applied. So the way, so if you see that I've got, if I got, let's say, 2,000 applicants, but the moment I apply these two filters, the 2,000 number will drop down to, let's say, 400 or 500, right? And then it goes into the further criteria of evaluation. At times, companies have some specific industries that they want to target from. So not always, but they do have. After all of this, you finally come down to a number of, let's say, 200-300, and that's when those are the real applications which are filtered by the recruiters to look at it. Then the next filtering is, okay, what is the stability of the person that has stayed in particular role? What kind of projects or problems that the person has dealt on or solved on, right? So that is how it goes, and that is the level of resume shortlisting. Once the resume shortlisting has been done, then the recruiters get on a screening call with these candidates, right, to go further deep down and understand understand better, much better than on the projects that they've worked. So, for example, if someone has worked in depth, they will be able to talk about the projects. They'll be able to say that how they have leveraged particular tech stacks or technologies, how they've used it, right? At times, recruiters also take ratings on those. Then the next criteria comes is what is their compensation, what is it they're expecting. So after all of this, right? So this is the level of filtering that goes in at a recruiter's end. And once if everything fits in the bill, then it is given out to the business teams for their evaluation, and post their shortlisting. That is how when the interview process begins. So this is all the behind the scenes or the back work that a recruiter does before, let's say, moving a candidate to an interview stage.
Let me actually add, thanks, Omkar. Let me add some more real sense to what he just said. So most of you, have seen CutShort application. I'm giving CutShort as an example. But you have not seen how CutShort looks like to a recruiter or a hiring manager when they're hiring, right? So this is how the dashboard for a recruiter looks like on CutShort. And then you can see I have 63 jobs that we have open now, out of which some have been paused as well. But you can see all of these jobs are live right now. And you can see a bunch of jobs are live, around 10, 12 jobs are live. We only have one recruiter and one head, right? So you can understand how much bandwidth we have. But that being said, in CutShort, we are actually more distributed. So every hiring manager actually does the hiring as well. We don't make recruiter a bottleneck. So every hiring manager also, does work on the application, but the initial shortlisting, because the volume is very high, and you can see the volume here. Can you see this number application? So there's a sales role, we have 320 applications. For product operation, we have 271. And coming to the tech roles, Python developer, we have 98 applications that are pending right now. We have received more, but this is a pending one that we have. 471 applications on DevOps, which are pending right now. And we hate the fact that they're pending, right? We should not be leaving them waiting for an answer. But this is the reality, because if we have so many, then this role, by the way, is paused, but still, there's so many people applied before we could handle them. So that is one. This is how it looks like, that volume looks like. Now this is how the dashboard looks like for people who are hiring. The 60 applications are pending, and these are sorted based on the match score. So you can see 94% match score, 94% match score. So you can see a match score here, which is computed by CutShort based on the overall fitment, what Omkar mentioned, right? So Omkar mentioned experience, he mentioned tech skills, location, all of those factors were used to rank these profiles in the order of importance and or a match score. Now, these are the people that are in the process right now, and we have different stages where we have these people. And if you scroll all the way right, you can see that 383 people were not a fit after assignment. You can see 604 people were rejected after they did not reply. It's not like if we don't reply, a lot of times they also don't reply. So 604 people did not reply after they applied through some process. Then there's 79 people here, then there are 989 people rejected after, because they were not relevant, right? So this is how the funnel, and 341 people were declined. Like, we reached out to them and they declined. So this is the scale of our hiring for just one role. 341 people here, and you can look at around 2,500 people have applied, maybe perhaps for this role so far, and one recruiter has processed this kind of volume. So now you can imagine that, and this is one role. I have 10 more roles like this, and everywhere a recruiter is supposed to provide output. A recruiter does not want to reject, and this is the number one secret actually in this webinar. Recruiters and hiring managers actually want to select people, because
we want to hire.
Everyone hates everything else. They just want to put people in the higher stage, and they are not able to do it because of the logistical problem, but also because of the many issues that they find in the hiring process. So what we are going to focus next is, if your resume is, if application is here and you're not getting response. So Omkar mentioned a few things like experience, tech skills, comp, location. Let's assume you have everything in order. You have the right experience, you have the skill set, your location, everything else is matching, your comp also is in the line, that in the budget and all of that. Now still you're not getting to a response back. And this is where, Omkar, if you could highlight, or maybe Kecher or somebody else also, let's say open like one resume and see if this is the kind of a resume. Let's say somebody's seeing, what would you look for in this resume or this profile to make a shortlisting or not shortlisted kind of a decision? And all of you can perhaps go, Kechit, Bharat, and Omkar, since you guys are recruiting a lot.
Yeah. So let me start. So when I look at the resume, so like as Nikunj also mentioned and Omkar also mentioned, we get like hardly 30 to 60 seconds on an average to process a resume. So it has to be, the first impression also matters. So every recruiter will look for the things which are very essential for that role. So when we hire, we have a project in mind or a team in mind in which that person or is like, or the project that the person is going to work on. So we try to look at the similar projects first of all, whether the person has a relevant experience in the kind of projects that they're going to work on. So the first thing is relevant experience. So the skills should stand out immediately, not just the project that you have worked on. It should be less about the projects you have worked on, but it should be more about your contributions to that project. That is the first thing. The second thing is also look at the number of companies that the person has worked on, the kind of switch they are making. Is it too soon? Is it too long? And the kind of people that we would want in our team. That was the second thing. Third thing which everybody looks for is the person going to improve the quality of the team? Whether it is by the projects that they've worked on, their educational background, it could also be because of the hobbies. So I love playing games. I look at people who have played some of the games. So the extracurricular activities also matter, because overall they're working in a team. They're not working independently. So will they what kind of a relationship will they have with the team member, so that I try to judge from the hobbies. So projects, skill set, their contribution in those projects, and the extracurricular activity. What is the extra thing that they bring to the table? So these days you have a lot of things that you can do to make your resume stand out. You can have your GitHub contributions, your public profiles, your website. You could have participated in different hackathons, won certain prizes there, or you could have, like in your current organizations, you could have done certain initiatives. You could have won certain awards in your organization. So what are those extra things that really give you an edge over other candidates?
Yeah, great points there. I think one more thing that you get an opportunity normally is attaching a cover letter, and or in case of CutShort, you also get to write a chat message to the recruiter, right? So here, for example, you can see a chat section. Now, a lot of people don't utilize this, and they, like, the worst is that they don't even customize their resume for the kind of role they're applying for. They apply with the same resume everywhere, and the pitch is very, very high level. The pitch is that, okay, I just know front-end development, React, please take, I'm a fit. But what I think Kechit also is mentioning, he's looking at a deeper fitment issue or deeper fitment question right now. He's not just looking at the kind of skill set you have, but he's also looking at some contribution, your specific contribution in that project. He's also looking for quality of team improvement, whether you will bring in something extra for his team. And he's also looking at the kind of companies or the kind of other stuff that you have done along in your career journey. So I think the biggest reason, if you are seeing that you are applying to 30-40 jobs and you're not getting shortlisted, and you are meeting the whole tech stack and experience and everything else, but still not getting shortlisted, it is most likely to do something around the depth of your resume rather than your breadth. You are able to cover the breadth, but you're not able to really give an impression to the recruiter that you have what the company needs. And the biggest clue that you have to figure it out is a JD. And people don't read the JD. And do you have a poll on that, Shaunak? I think a lot of people, they don't look at JD. They just try to think of JD as something which is companies don't take it seriously. And yes, they might be true that some companies don't take it seriously, but most of the companies, since they also want to hire, they actually spend time on their JD to make sure that they are able to attract the right people. Before applying, if you could understand the JD and catch some clues that what this company is actually looking for, and you try to do a pattern match at how many times it's coming up, your resume should appeal to that. And hence, when you apply, if you can highlight those things in the resume and also in your chat message or in case of email application or cover letter, then you will have a better shot because you are giving them what they want rather than giving, trying to make them decide, this is what I have, take me or leave me. I think our job is to make them want us rather than the other way around.
Yeah. Just to add,
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, we'll just wrap up quickly. So just to add to Nikunj's point around cover letter, I also try to judge the interest level of the candidate to a particular job on the basis of the cover letter. So if the cover letter is very tailored to our company, that means the candidate has done the research, like you've done the research and you're really interested in applying to that particular role. Versus if it is a generic cover letter, which can be forwarded to like 100 different companies, that shows the interest level and you have a less likelihood of getting shortlisted. Omkar, please go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think I was just saying, to add to Nikunj's point, that resume should have depth. Depth does not mean having multiple pages of resume. Depth means the quality of resume, and in crisp mentioning what do you really want to convey. That is one. And I think the past experience also matters. Detailing it out properly in lesser amount of words. I mean, resume max can be 2 pages at max. Ideal resume length is 1 page, to be very honest.
Nikunj, can you share that, reshare that screen? Basically, I wanted to point out a couple of things. So one, I don't know if it is a myth or we do it differently. So this myth that recruiters or hiring managers look at a CV only over 15 to 30 seconds is not true. When you want to reject, or basically it's a poorly formatted CV which you want to looking at rejection, I think then that rule applies. Otherwise, I think if you like a resume, you actually, as Kechit also said, right, we spend time on figuring out the fitment. So 1-2 minutes probably, whatever time is taken, on which team this person would be a good fit. So that's one thing. Second, like how we do this is we don't really, unless it's a fresher, we don't really spend or don't really encourage writing hobbies and all that, because we have given a mandate, or not mandate, but we prefer like 1-2 pager ka CV, right? Which is now that needs to be more about your work. So now if I look at this CV, so there is front-end developer Upwork. Last line says help them to grow their business and idea. So this is something which is probably not adding any value, at least to me, right? Because that's the KRA. So what I've seen majorly, or in a lot of CVs, this is across career ladders, across seniority levels. People end up talking about product more than their engineering work, right? That this is what I've done, right? This is how product was improved. But what I want to hear from developers, from engineers is what was the engineering complexity? Why was it, let's say, complicated? It's not only about explaining us the product enhancement. I think that probably does help a lot.
I think just to add 1 or 2 points on this, I have seen a fair bit of resumes myself as well, and a lot of candidates, what they do is that they try to add almost all the things that even they think that the ATS will pass it, and the hiring manager will get or the recruiter will get interested, and they'll just talk to us. That is generally a bad idea. You stick to the basics. You only at those points that you are sure of. Adding like 100 things in a resume is not a good idea at all, because then the recruiter can't figure out that what is your specialty, what is your expertise. You can't have expertise in 100 things, but you can have expertise in, let's say, 5 things or 7 things, but not more than that for sure.
And which is the reason now, if we move to the next one, and this is a great point to connect that, because yes, let's say you put everything on your resume and you get past the recruiter screen. Recruiter shortlisted the person, they talked, and it looks like the person has the skills, and you are moved to the next round, which is the actual tech interview, or it could be a coding test, or it could be a take-home assignment or whatever, right? So in the interview round, especially, now you're in trouble, because now you have written too many things, right? So you want to talk about how does the interviewer decide? So one important question is, does the interviewer already know the questions that they want to go over, or they can be led to the things that you are strong in as a candidate?
So my point is generally, whenever an interviewer is taking an interview, the basic idea is that he is looking for a person to hire. If it was the reject case, then he would have rejected that candidate resume only, right? And people are taking interviews for hiring. So most of the interviewers, what they will ask you is that they'll ask you that, hey, what are your strong points? What is the most important project that you have done? And what is the depth that you have gone into? What is the architecture and other things? Although there are some interviewers who would ask, projects from your resume directly, they can ask as well. So as I said earlier, that, my point is that don't add projects that you are just copy pasting from your friends, copy pasting from your online, unless you have the depth, because anyone can ask. And at the end of the day, any interviewer who is trying to hire you for their team, they would not want a person who is trying to impersonate someone else's project, or who doesn't know what things he has written in the project. You should know at least something, and then I'm going to look for your strong points, that, hey, what are your strong areas, and let's focus on that.
So in case of interview vector, for example, when you are doing interviews for so many clients, do interviewers have a set of questions, problems already in mind, that this is what they're going to ask, or the candidate they decide they have the areas in mind, but they go to the resume, then they're figuring out which topic to discuss to figure out how the competency of that person is on those areas?
So ours is generally very, very simple. We generally ask that candidate that, hey, tell me the best project that you have worked on. Obviously, first we take over the look over the resume, then just ask that what is the best project that you have worked on, or the most recent project that you have worked on. Then go in detail that, hey, tell me the architecture, why this architecture was there, and what architecture was there before you was there, how big was the team, and then what exactly you contributed to, and why did you do this and everything. And these are very generic questions, but for a candidate, it will be very personalized because now they are talking about this specific project rather than a general one, right? And when we are taking interviews for, most of our customers, I have seen that a lot of our customers have this filter that if any candidate is not able to justify their resume, a lot of customers, they drop the candidate. That is one of the things that I have seen across almost 75%, 80% of the customers. And for the remaining customers who are not giving us this mandate, they would have taken one round earlier before us, and they are going to do it by themselves at that point of time. So they just don't want the repetitive work to be done because this has already been tested. Other than the resume, obviously, then there are fixed set of questions. So let's say if we are talking about problem solving, if we are talking about design, then there are general fixed set of questions that the companies have thought of because that will relate to their internal work or what the level that they are evaluating. But on resumes, we generally try to ask the candidate, hey, what is it that you have done? What is it that you have contributed most and why?
Okay, great. So I think one interesting thing and important thing here also is as a candidate, you can ask the recruiter as well, right? Upfront about how many rounds will be there and what will be covered in those rounds, right? Omkar?
Absolutely. And absolutely,
How do you see a recruiter's role in guiding the candidate through the entire process?
Very important. To be very honest, Nikunj, in some cases, I see like a 7 on 10, wherein a candidate is asking us that what to expect from an interview, what skills would be tested, and will there be any specific topics that that would be asked on, right? In fact, what I will say is it is a good practice for candidates to ask upfront that what is going to be expected in an interview. Are there any specific skills that I would be interviewed on? Because see, as I see it, right, you study for exams. Interview is also one kind of exam. So why not ask upfront and better prepare yourself? That will increase your chance of clearing an interview, right? Because you get an opportunity to prepare yourself for an interview. So if candidates are not asking, I think they should certainly go ahead and ask what is expected from an interview and what would be interview would be around what specific.
Okay, so that's great. I think we might get a lot of questions around the whole interview process. So Bharat, you want to comment on, what are you doing? What you try to figure out in the interview process, and how much as a candidate they can what are the things that they can take care of or make sure in the interview before going there?
I think it depends basically, on the level of or the seniority level or what position you're being hired for. Majorly, I think what I generally end up suggesting is ask a lot of questions, before the process itself, to the recruiter. SD3 interview would be very different. Not only interview, evaluation would be very different, compared to an SD3, SD4, even though the questions might be, same. Right. So let's say if I'm hiring for a staff engineer or an SD4 compared to an SD1, and if I ask them to, let's say, design a Reddit, there's a lot of material, I think, which will help you answer, these set of questions if you're an SD1, SD2. Beyond that, it becomes a little bit different because, what happens in reality, if you have 1 million users versus 10 million users versus 100 million users, the implementation is very different, right? And I think you need to be careful about these things, which is depending on the role you're applying for, right? How much depth you have, I think, of your fundamentals. So my suggestion has always been that. Right, if you have done that kind of work, if you have gone into that depth in your day-to-day work, you'll end up answering or doing well in the interview. So I think majorly, this one thing I can highlight.
Okay, and apart from the tech skills, when you're doing the interview, you are looking at technical skills. Apart from technical skills, are there anything else that you're looking for because of which you might not want to proceed with a candidate in the tech interview?
I think probably the behavior attitude. Basically we will look at this as a two-way communication, right? Everybody who's interviewing is representing the country, right? Sorry, the company, and then they need to basically give full respect to the candidate, and that is what is expected from the candidate as well, right? Um, uh, I mean, because interviewers at times have more experience, or probably, I mean, we can safely assume that they have done this much more than the interview is. So I think there are certain signals which we pick where which is on the behavior side, right? Do we want to work with this person? Would he add value to the team, beyond, let's say, coding itself? Team person, or is a team person or not? Is he looking at long-term value, or long-term, is there a long-term goal? Is he offer shopping? Now I think that there is, like, these two, three signals which you start looking at. Is he looking at offer shopping and all that? Like, I'll give an example. I've had recently interviewed somebody who wanted to make an impact when when we asked motivation for the switch, wanted to make an impact, and wanted engineering, challenging engineering problems. And I straight away asked, like, would you work at the same salary in Google? And he said no, right? And this was not somebody who was underpaid, in my opinion, right? I could be wrong, but so I think those kind of signals you try to pick. And again, it is not a function of one interview. Because in one conversation it's very difficult to pick out all signals. So the panel coordinates within, amongst each other on verifying, validating, or validating basically the thesis of each skill set, be it technical or behavioral.
Okay, that's great. I hope it was useful for people to understand what to crack, what to take care of the interview. If you have any questions, please ask any of ask in the chat section, and I think we have a lot of people who can answer your questions around interviews, coding test. If you need any information around it. I think from my side, I think one thing that people don't do in a tech interviews is they're just in a passive mode. They think a company is going to assess them and they're just going to get assessed. They don't take the opportunity of understanding the hiring side. That what are the company's problems, what kind of architecture they have right now, what are the problems they're trying to solve, and why did they actually need to hire? Why they're hiring you? What is the problem that you're supposed to solve? They don't do this. They think it's their time will come later after they've proven everything. Then they'll ask questions, but you'll not get time to ask those questions, because by the time your interviews are over, it will be a very short span of time where you'll have to decide about the company. So why you need to ask these questions about a company also is because once you understand their pain points, you understand the role, you understand the architecture and why they're hiring you, you will be able to actually not only understand whether you want to join this company or not, but also it will help you in pitching yourself and selling yourself better. Because if you understand from, let's say Bharat was your first interviewer, and Bharat was trying to talk about your resume and all of that, and you had this question around, okay, Bharat, tell me about Mystify, tell me about how many people you're hiring and what are the pain point that you have right now. You will be able to understand his perspective, and hence your answers, your approach to the entire process will become more customized for Bharat. And that will be a great opportunity, because Bharat will now try to see that this candidate actually can be a problem solver for me. And people don't understand that. People just say, okay, I am a box, take me or leave it, but you're not a box. You are a human and you can understand and sense the situation. And it will be also great help for you in the salary negotiation round as well, which is where we are going in the next thing.
I mean, this is very important. If you have probably, let's say your interview has not gone that great. When I say not great, on a if expected scale is 8 out of 10, and the score has been 7, I think a lot of these conversations, how active you are communicating does help a lot. right? Because I think all of us do understand that, again, interviews are a proxy of your skills. There is no way that any of us can, assess anybody in, let's say, in a matter of 3 hours. It's just not possible, right? So we want to pick signals which will, make us work with the candidate.
Yeah. Okay, so now moving, since it's 8:04, I think we can leave this part to more Q&A, where I think other people can also join. Let's say you have gone through all the interviews, and the recruiter, which is Omkar, who Omkar actually calls you, saying, okay, fine, great, your interviews went great, let's talk about it, and we're very excited. Now what happens, Omkar? From the candidate perspective, what do you think are some mistakes they can make where the interviews have been cracked, but still they might not get an offer? From HR perspective, let's say you're going to do an HR round at this point, or you've already done your screening before and now the interviews are all green. So basically it's a closure time for you.
So it's a closure time. That's how we work, because we're the in the screening call. Essentially, we cover everything, right? Right from the current CTC to the expected. Everything is covered in that discussion itself. So let's say that all the interviews are done and we intend to close, right? So there is some kind of operations work happens wherein we ask candidates to send across their documents, etc., right? And that's when you kind of go in for negotiations. What might break, because that's what you asked me, right? So let's say at the start of the process, candidate said, look, I'm looking for 1x, and suddenly that 1x becomes 2x, right? Or 3x for that matter. So that's wherein recruiter goes in a question mark that at the beginning of the process, this is what was quoted, how suddenly this became double or triple or whatever it is, right? So that can be one of the things. And harder negotiations. So when I say harder negotiations is wherein, let's say company has offered X minus 1, for example. Your expectation was X, company has offered X minus 1 or X minus 2. But if the candidate is hell-bent, no, I want X itself. So at that time, it may break. And another thing, what also to focus, Nico and John, and specifically if candidates are opting for startups, rather than just doubling down or tripling down or whatever, right? Just on salary, they should also look at wealth creation options. So let's say if you're getting something less, but if there is a wealth creation option, by wealth creation option, what I mean is your ESOPs, RSUs, SARs, right? So even if you're getting a balanced hike on the compensation, don't be hell-bent that I want an aggressive one. Instead of try asking that, is there a wealth creation option in your company?
Okay, great. So, so what you're mentioning is that don't make a mistake of revising and whatever you had agreed upon earlier too much. Although there might be a lot of cases that might happen to you when this happens, right? And then you have to leave. I think the whole salary part I think it should not be a surprise till the end. I think this also is an important part I think increasingly understood from the company side as well. In a market like this, right? Companies also want to not waste the time, right?
Absolutely.
Because by the time the whole interview process has happened, a lot of man hours and opportunities have been wasted on both sides.
Absolutely, at least 3 to 4 engineering hours rather than man hours. I'll call them as engineering hours. Are put in by, right?
Superhuman hours, right? So
yeah, exactly.
So I think the whole salary negotiation, people think is linear, right? It happens after, and I've seen this happening from a candidate perspective a lot. They think, "Pehle prove karna hai apne aap ko, then we'll talk about money and we'll talk about salary." But I think if you want to avoid that, then having this conversation around salary, about the range, should be had at the start of the process. And I think
the start of the process, absolutely. Because let's say, for example, I encourage that, right? I encourage and support that, because let's say at the start of the process, if I'm having a screening call and if someone says that, look, I'm looking at, let's say 100% hike, right? So that's when I will ask them that in a specific reason you're looking for 100%. And if I'm not convinced to give 100% then and there, I will not put, or I'll not initiate the process in itself, rather than having surprises at the last moment. Let the interview happen and then we'll speak. So I think doing it at the start, setting the right expectations from both the sides is ideal. Plus minus 5-10% that happens towards the end during the closure, but there shouldn't be a great variation.
And from recruiter perspective, you make sure that this conversation happens before the process begins.
Absolutely, absolutely, super important, because there is no point. Time is precious, right? There's no point wasting time of the entire engineering team in doing the interviews, and also for that matter candidate, if they're not satisfied at the start of the discussion, where we say that, look, this is what the range is. If you're okay, then let's proceed ahead, because then they might actually want to go in and try it for their interviews.
So then comes an important question about the range, the salary range. So let's say you post a job, or companies open their job positions. Do companies have a very clear idea about the range that they want to pay, or do you think there's always a lot of range changes that can happen if the candidate is good? And how does the candidate actually play along? And I think Omkar can answer that question, but I think other people, especially Manan, if you have done salary negotiations before, did you believe the range that was told to you by the company, or did you know that there is always a buffer? If I perform better, I can always ask for more?
In my perspective, there is a base range which like every organization operates at, and there are certain bands to like a different job role. But there are outliers, and there could be I've always seen in organization there are certain people who outperform and get compensated in a better way as well, as per the organization procedures. It could be a different wealth creation opportunity via awarding more ESOPs or in that direction. But there is a certain baseline which the organization operates at, and without which it gets challenging, because the organization is not a 10, 15, 100 people thing. It is far bigger than that. It spans to thousands very easily, and after that managing the outliers and everything becomes a challenge. So from the organization end, it is must to have certain grades and pay ranges in order to plan your resources and your cash flows in a better way. And as a person interviewing, you need to maximize on how much you need to make, and how you can convince them that you are the right person. So in my career, I had the trick that whenever I was even in the lockdown itself, when I was moving jobs, I was trying to visit the office in an offline manner, try to understand their pain points, that what are the three problems they're planning to solve in the next couple of quarters, what are the backlogs which they have been lagging on since long, and how I can add value in the same direction.
Got it. Omkar, you wanted to add something from the recruiter perspective?
Yeah, absolutely, Nikunj. So there is always a range, and not only in the organization, I would say there is a range in a particular industry for all particular roles, right? There can be, there can be a difference of organization. There can be a slight variation or difference organization to organization, but it cannot be North Pole and South Pole at a particular experience level or a particular role, right? So that is, to be honest, out in the market. So candidates should study that for a particular role, what is the industry range, right? That is one thing, and it is important to have to add what Manan or you said, that for outliers, absolutely there are outliers. Let's say if some candidate has thumping the table feedback, as what I call it as, right? So let's say 3 or 4 interviews have happened for someone, and if the feedback is extensively better, then of course companies don't mind going slightly over and above what their range is. And when I say slightly, about 5-10% they will go if they want a particular candidate who has shown extreme feedback in an interview, extreme performance in an interview.
You can see my screen?
Yeah.
So we did this poll, and a lot of people believe that companies try to pay less than the budget they have. Right, so there is some sort of distrust or maybe lack of clear expectations set from both sides.
To be honest, and I'm not saying this because I'm a recruiter or because I do a negotiations. Let me first put it that way. I think companies won't try to pay you less, right? They'll try to pay you in a particular budget. This does not mean, let me also highlight, it does not mean that companies will outrightly give you 100%, 150% or 200% hike for a particular manner, right? But by and large, companies try to pay within budget. More than budget, at times, as I said, in some specific cases, wherein the feedback has been exceptional, or the candidate has a very different background, or extremely relevant, let's say from an industry perspective or whatever, right? So in that case, companies may go beyond budget, but otherwise, largely they'll try to be in the budget, because see, understand, if they go beyond budget, their cash flows will hamper one. And if they pay under budget, then there will be parity concerns within the organization at some point in time, right? So they'll try to fit to a budget, and budget is fairly a larger range. It is not just a difference of a lakh or 2 lakh. There is a fair amount of difference or distance in a particular range that is defined.
Someone was trying to say something. Any one of you?
So would like to add one point on this. I think if I agree with Omkar. If companies are they'll if they are underpaying you, then they have a risk. The recruiter has a risk that you will switch job within the next 6 months. Once you join in, you will know that that this was not the budget range, and the company is not doing a fair job to you. And then they lose a risk of they have a risk of losing you, and you can go to some other company, and then the company is back in the market looking for a replacement. And to be very honest, hiring is very costly. Hiring a developer at least is really costly. So no company, at least any smart recruiter, would not want to go through the pain of that. And they would want to save their time, make their life easy, and actually help the company grow, rather than saving 1 lakh rupees now and then spending more money than that in hiring again.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So I think the insight here is that you have this conversation with the recruiter early enough, sort out your expectations beforehand itself, understand that the range that they will be putting is something that they have in mind. It is mostly the right range. But if you think you are an outlier, prove that you are an outlier. And if they believe that you are an outlier, then maybe there is some more room for them to go beyond the budget. But then, as Bharat identified and said earlier, have this thing as one of the factors. Don't I see a lot of people really taking it as a some sort of an ego signal, or a peer comparison point, that I'm earning more than other people in my peer group, or or compared to my cousins, and they just go in the CTC maximization kind of a spree. That becomes a whole objective. But understand that when you're planning a career, you're planning for a lot of things, and this is just one of the things. So don't leave a good opportunity just because somebody's paying you more, 3 or 4 lakhs or 2 lakhs more.
Yeah.
It will really not make a lot of difference, because if you look at developer salary and the salary that you're going to have in long term, and the people that we have in the panel, their salaries, just 2-3 lakh difference of in their maybe they might have done a compromise of 2-3 lakh, 5 lakh rupees of CTC earlier enough, but that has really compounded, and now they are able to command whatever they want in the market. The ranges and all of those are happening at the lower end. Once you cross over and you actually become a leader, you can actually make things move. You have understood, you have huge understanding, and you can actually change the game. Then the valuation is really not in the range. Then it's in crores, it can be lakhs, and there is it's only based on the payability that you have. So optimize for that game. Don't optimize for short term 2 lakh, 3 lakh here and there. That would be my advice. And that takes me to the last point about, or last topic of discussion, which is a small suggestion from my side. All this happens. You get 4 or 5 companies offers and all of that. You accept one offer because a recruiter or the company was really pressing you. You make the mistake of accepting because you do not want to lose out on the offer. Then some other company comes, you continue to talk to them, which is something that a lot of people do today. It is something which is a big debate right now on LinkedIn as well. But I think there's no clear solution, no no side to blame for this. But I think both sides understand that you are optimizing for your career, and while you might want to look for opportunities, what people don't want you to do is accept, and don't tell them until the last minute. When you accept, first of all, don't only accept when you are sure about joining. Don't accept under pressure. And I think any company which is good will give you the time to decide. If the company is pressing you, forcing you to decide within 3 days, 4 days, 7 days, and despite your request, if they're not listening, then I would consider that to be a red flag. Any points that any one of you have on this? Would that be considered a red flag? The candidate is asking for more time to accept, but the company is persisting that no, you have to accept it in 7 days.
No, Nikunj, I think live case that I'm dealing with currently. So we've rolled out a particular offer, and the candidate has asked us time of 7 days that because he wants to do his due diligence, and he said that if I accept it, I'll join 100%. So we are okay to give the time because he asked upfront 7 days from us. I said fair enough, and at the same time he assured us that if I accept your offer, then I'm going to join you 100%. So I think if this kind of assurance, because I think he's doing his due diligence even before accepting an offer. So I think this is what I'll encourage, that if there are any ifs and buts or any questions in your mind, right, you can upfront tell that I am in other interview process. So I'll need time to, like, let's say, close those before I accept yours. But don't go back after you have accepted an offer, because that leaves a bad taste in the mouth.
And why it's important is because while you think it's just a job and you can just tell no to some recruiter that or company that you accepted offer from, understand that your career also is going to be 10, 15 years, 25, 30 years long. And like today we have Kechit, we have so many other people on the panel today. It's all relationships that will take you far in your career. It's not just going to be just one-off thing that you will pull off. When you're going to be in an ecosystem, and as you go up, as you get more experience, the ecosystem is going to become more sparse. You're going to be dealing with more people who you have met before. And if you don't manage these relationships well, then you're going to have uncomfortable conversations or situations in your life later on. So again, optimize for long term. I think all the expectation, at least Omkar is saying, and a lot of sane recruiters will tell you, or sane companies will tell you, is it's okay if you are not accepting because you're talking to 10 more companies. It's absolutely fine. You talk to as many companies as you want, and companies will hold, because see, companies have spent so much of time to arrive at you, and we just saw the whole profile, the whole pipeline that I showed you, 3,000 people and 2 hired. Right? I cannot. If the person says I'm gonna take 3 weeks to decide, I have to say yes, because I don't have any other option. What I don't want is to press the user or press the candidate and the candidate walks out. I would rather wait for 3 more weeks because I've already spent my time. So ask for that time. Accept only when you want to join. And if anything happens because of which you're not able to join, just have a clear conversation. Don't surprise them. Don't think it's a short-term game. Try to really talk about it gracefully and in professional manner, and try to build that relationship, maintain that relationship. Don't really think about a very ultra short-term thing. And this is why actually we also have on CutShort we have launched Trust Score. So if you think you are that kind of candidate, and if you want to have that kind of a behavior, where if you get an offer and accept it, you will try to try your best and you will try to uphold it, then you can enable this trust score on your profile as well. And this will give the confidence to people like Omkar, people like Bharat, that this person actually is serious about professionalism, and you will only accept when you join. This will be a great signal for them to reach out to you, but it will also come with the responsibility that you have to promise, and you have to keep this promise upheld, that you are going to accept, are you going to join when you accept. So things like this we are doing as a platform, because I think we have to find a common ground here. Otherwise, what will happen is, what is already happening is, so many companies are trying to hire, but and you are a great person, you actually believe in professionalism, you will only accept the offer when you want to join, but they will not reach out to you because they don't have no guarantee, and they will just sit on the fence, and which is not what we want, because otherwise everybody will be deprived of the opportunities that you deserve. So that will be a parting note from my side on this important topic. As I said, let's play for the long term, let's build for the knowledge, and let's build for the ecosystem, and have a network of professionalism and tradition, and the history of professional that will take you far. That was my last parting note on this. I think now we are up for any Q&A. Do we have any questions? Then we can go for it. Any other parting advice, thoughts from any of the panelists who want to, maybe all of you? I just summarized my perspective from the whole discussion that we had today. If you were to summarize your advice and tips to the people in the room today in, let's say, 30 seconds or less, how would you do it?
So if I were to summarize, I would say, first thing, have a career goal in mind. Like, what do you want to become in the next 3 or 5 years? Start focusing on skills that would get you there. Start looking at companies that can get you there, projects that you can do in your current organization that can get you there. Rather than optimizing for short-term salary, taking a salary hike and switching. So while focusing on, like, when you look at short term, you end up compromising on your long term goals. So that'll be really bad for your long term career. Just like these three things.
Great. Well summarized. Anybody else who wants to add any point to what he said?
Yeah, I think agree to what Kajit said, that plan your career and not just from a short-term perspective, from a long-term perspective. Put time or give time and prepare yourself for that long-term journey that you're envisaging, right? Put in those efforts and give it out your all from the learning standpoint, which can help you achieve your long-term goal.
Yeah.
Would I just one more thing?
Yeah.
I think Omkar and Kechit has already added that you have to have a long-term goal, go for network and focus on learning. Just I wanted one thing, don't take too much tension, to be very honest. That is something that we have not covered. But yes, don't take too much tension. Always focus on learning, always focus on your basics, and things will fold in the right manner in the long term. I have seen a lot of people getting, hey, I didn't get shortlisted by this company or flana, but in the long term, in the long scheme of things, you will do good if you have the right mindset.
Yeah.
That's a very, very well made point, Sachin. Thanks for making that point, and I think it's a great conclusion to the entire event today. Now we can go for Q&A, 8:26, so we can have maybe 4 or 5 questions quickly. I think one question that is interesting and in continuation of what I was talking about is how to deal with 90-day notice period. Omkar, you have any suggestions for people who have
Yeah, I think, to be very honest with you, if you have a 90-day notice period, and if some company has shortlisted you, and if they really want you, they'll honor it. We have done it multiple times. Try to, I think, negotiate with your current employer if there is any possibility of buyout or anything like that. But don't accept an offer just to cut down on the 90-day notice period, right? That is very, very important. At least my notice period will start. Don't have this thing in mind. If the company genuinely wants you, they will honor it and they'll wait for you.
Yeah, I think 2 things. One is you can enable trust score on CutShort if you think you are going to honor your commitment. Second, if you think you have skills, 90 days is a long period. You can resign actually. A company which is not giving you the leeway and enforcing a 90-day period is actually a red flag company in my mind. No good company will do that. So it's time for you to exit a company anyway. 90 days is a long period.
Unless you are in a leadership role, I think ask your company to kind of waive off or not have that notice period at all.
Yeah, maybe waive off or buyout or anything else.
And then if you think they're not agreeing, then you resign. And I think 90 days enough time for you. If you apply whatever we discussed today, 90 days is a good period of time. I think you will get a job, a good enough company in 30 days, 40 days flat. So 90 days is a good time. Just take the leap of faith. You can't, you can't just not take any risk and do well. You have to take risk at some point in time. And the company which is giving 90-day period is anyway a company which will not take you far, as per me.
And honestly, Nikunj, 90 days is not required for any handover, to be very honest.
No, this is just a strategy for them to hold on. So it's time to exit the company, I would say. Any other questions we have where we can see Do we have any questions that are most sought after? Neeraj or Shona, can you help me find a good question? How to overcome the barrier of a good college and branch? What do you mean by that? Yogesh is asking for something. How to overcome the barrier of a good college and branch? I think the barrier that he's perhaps referring to is a lot of companies look for good companies of good pedigree. And let's say somebody does not have a good pedigree, then how do you crack into a good company? Kechet or Bharat or
So there are multiple things in a resume. It's not just your education background. So it is like your resume has your education qualifications, your work history, the personal projects that you've worked on, your public profiles and everything. So in case you feel that you're not in tier 1, tier 2 colleges and you want to focus, like you can focus on some other areas, like focus on your projects, maybe take up certain online courses, have your public profiles, or really showcase that you have really performed in your current role. If you're working in your current organization, showcase growth, like you've done multiple, like you've gotten multiple promotions in the last 1 or 2 years to showcase that you are really a performer. So
yeah, open source, like contribution to open source is like another thing which I really encourage people. And to be very honest, I mean, we have seen a lot of good programmers, like probably the best programmers I've seen have not come from IITs or NITs.
Yeah,
they've come from I think tier 2, tier 3 colleges, and but again very good at problem solving. And these are also set of people who have not worked for 12, 14 hours, right? Very, very efficient. Like one thing which we encourage people is that you should be efficient Monday to Friday. If the work is spilling over, right, it is probably a red flag as well.
I think I have this, I've faced this problem and this whole inferiority complex of not coming from a great college, right? All my life. And I think it's always in your mind. First of all, it's in your mind. You always tell yourself a lie that you're not good enough because you're not from IIT. So the first thing you have to let go of that self perception about yourself. Second thing is, in today's world, if you had asked me this question 10, 20 years ago, I would have said, yes, it mattered a lot. But in today's economy, so many companies are hiring, so much dearth of talent, they really want to hire you, right? So the opportunities have really opened up. And today you can learn from the best sitting anywhere, right? Doesn't matter. Earlier, it used to happen that good professors used to be only IITs, and if you're not there, then you are not learning. But today you are at home learning from the best of the people anywhere in the world. So in today's economy, in today's world, it is a lie that you can't grow without a degree, because opportunities have opened up, learning opportunities have opened up, and people like this webinar is possible, where you are able to meet Kechet, you're able to meet Bharat, you're able to meet Sachin, and learn from them within a span of time, right? Very short span of time, which is all great testament to the fact that the sky is the limit, the ceiling is in your mind. And I always also say that everything you think is a challenge can be converted to an opportunity. You think IIT is not having IIT on the resume is a challenge, I would convert that to an opportunity. Say, hey, I'm not from IIT, but you know what? I can work harder. You know what? I have gone through this whole program from Harvard University's online course on my own. And that shows a commitment to go beyond what was obvious. And those become your strength. So play to your strength. Don't try to compete with people on a different parameter where you're not strong. That would be my advice based on whatever experience I have had in my life. But a great question. So there's some questions around why the companies offer salary based on the last withdrawn salary. So yeah, this is all. So see, companies also have a lot of. I think the question here is that why do companies offer salary based on the last round salary? Why can't they just give a fair compensation? So we do that kind of compensation. We don't care about. We don't even ask your previous salary. But a lot of companies are getting there. I think as we are getting into a competitive market, I think companies are also forced to change their ways, and as talent also is changing their ways. So I think it will get there. But Shashank, your question is well. I think Mahisha, your question is well taken. I think it will happen over a period of time. In my case, I have my path clear. I have loved coding. I'm not specific to one particular field. I just want to know how to get selected so I can gain experience, because this is what just matters to me. Yep. So Shashank, go ahead. You have got some good answers today. Apply those things. What else? Any other questions that we have? People are writing their secrets that they've learned today. Great. Thanks, Vinayak, and everybody else. Please summarize your learning today. That 5 secrets was a topic, and we did not give you those 5 secrets like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There may be more. Whatever you identified, please write it down here, and we'll give you something. We don't know what, but we'll give you something. Okay, so I don't know if there are any more questions, guys. And it's 8:34, so we'll have to stop here. Again, thanks for everyone who joined this late and who stayed this late, and especially also all the awesome people who came today, finding time for doing this without any interest in the mind. I think if we are all here, it's only for one reason. We want people to be successful. We want you to achieve your potential. It hurts when we waste potential. It hurts when somebody was destined to do something, they had the potential, but they could not because of mindset problems, information problems, or something else which could be very easily fixed. And this was just one step that we did today to bridge that gap and make you believe that you can do it. And it's very straightforward. It's not rocket science. And as Sachin said that don't take tension, everything will work out. Just stick to the basic and fundamentals. Take some singles, take some doubles, and 4 successes will come, right? So that will happen in your life. Just stay there and believe in yourself. And I think again, thanks for everyone. Thanks for everyone for coming here. We'll do it maybe one more time with more specific questions, maybe one or deeper dive into any of these topics. But for now, this is the ground that we wanted to cover. Thanks again for everyone for coming here, and I look forward to be with you again. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Nikunj.
Thanks,
Yeah, it was
Nikunj.
great to have you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.